Hey, you're listening to the Matt Wano podcast. As always, super excited to be here. And at the time of recording this podcast, and if you're listening to this around the time of recording, you know that right now it's a crazy time. It's been a crazy 2020. I mean, we've had the coronavirus, we've had George Floyd, we've had the killer hornets, we had the riots and the protesters and everything. And today I kind of just wanted to talk about caring, what it means to care. Obviously, this is a really tumultuous time, if I'm even using that word correctly. It's crazy. I mean, anybody who has seen the video of George Floyd's death knows, and I'm sure everybody has seen it at this point, knows that it was just a horrific thing and an issue that actually everybody was united in. You know, it was pretty unanimous of like, wow, that was bad, that should not have happened. And there's so much going on in the world right now about white privilege, about social justice and everything. And this episode, I'm not going to get political because my education level in the political sphere is not very good. So I kind of wanted to, I guess, stay in my lane, so to speak, and to talk about what it means to care about your community, what it means for you to be a person, a good person, I guess. And so one thing that I think about immediately is one of my favorite verses in the Bible. I don't even know exactly which verse it is. I just know it's my favorite, which is, it's in Proverbs. Everything you have is for the good of others. And that really stuck out to me because I'm trying to build a business, right? I'm trying to make it big, have a lot of wealth, have really good relationships and everything like that. But what's become very apparent to me in light of these recent events is that I've had the luxury of not caring about police brutality, about just a whole range of things, because honestly, like, my life is good. I am beyond blessed, and I don't want to make it seem like that I came up from, or I don't want to make it seem like I'm a rags to riches story. I'm a cloth to never mind. I'm not even gonna try. But basically, I've had a really blessed life, and I truly believe everything we have is for the good of others. And so what does that mean? How do we live that out? How do we live a life where everything we have is for the good of others? Well, we can start with monetary, we can start with our time, with our resources and everything like that. But I kind of want to take a step back and to think, when someone says they care about something, what does that usually mean? Well, what that usually means is that they have an emotional feeling or affinity towards a particular cause. But what I found, and let me just talk from me. I don't want to like point the finger at anybody. For me, I found that a lot of the things that I quote unquote cared about, my caring only went as far as posting on social media and or talking about it, or just having, again, like an emotional affinity, feeling good about it or feeling bad about whatever I cared about. But it kind of just stopped there. I didn't really do anything about it. And lately I've been trying to be very careful about what I say I care about. Because for me, if you say you care about something but you're not doing anything, I think we could agree that you don't really care. You like the idea of caring. And so that's something you got to ask yourself about the relationships you have in your life or the causes that you claim to care about. Do you actually care about these things, or do you just like the idea of caring? Do you like the social approval and validation that comes from showing that you care about these things? And the reason why I bring that up is, again, for me, I've realized, like, shoot, man, like a lot of the lessons that I've learned in life, I've been just a talker. I've just liked the idea of caring. So for me, I've kind of changed my definition of caring from I emotionally and intellectually acknowledge the problem, and I am doing something actionable to contribute to the solution of said problem. For me, that's what caring means. It's a two-part definition. It's you emotionally and intellect. Actually, you don't have to emotionally acknowledge it, but you need to at least intellectually acknowledge it and doing something to contribute to that solution. I've realized like caring is difficult. Caring is difficult because I've told a lot of people, oh yeah, I care about this, I care about that. I've told people, oh, I care about them, where maybe I didn't care as much as I said I did. And for me, I just kind of want to be in a place where my actions speak louder than my words. That, like, one mental exercise I love to do with myself and that I love to ask people if somebody could watch your life on mute, meaning they couldn't see any or they couldn't hear anything that you said, they could only look at your actions, they could only look at the things you spend time with, what would they conclude you value? What would they conclude are the things that you value in life? And if that silent movie doesn't point to the fact that you care about the things you say you care about, you probably don't care. You probably just like the idea of caring. And for a long time, there's a lot of things that I've liked the idea of caring about. Like, for example, there's starving children in Africa. A lot of people will say that they care about starving children in Africa, but a lot of people don't do anything about starving children in Africa. And for me, that's kind of like a hard realization, because you almost have to admit that you don't care about things that you should probably care about. And so it's kind of like a tough situation to be in. And I guess it's open for debate as well. Like, oh, well, just because you can't do anything or don't do anything doesn't mean you don't care. Well, this podcast is for reflection. Let this podcast be for reflection. Do you actually care, or do you just like the idea of caring? Do you like the social clout of showing that you care? Or, like that silent movie, are your actions and behaviors showing that you care? Because I think that's one of the most powerful things you can do, is let your results, let the actions speak for themselves. So for me personally, with all this George Floyd and the protest things going on, I want to put it into action to show that I care. And for me, what I'm going to be doing, and honestly, like, I don't really want to make this public because it just feels funny, but I have a marketing company business, and so I'll be taking $500 out of our advertising budget and using that for small businesses that have been affected by the riots, have been affected, like Black, Indigenous, people of color businesses. Because I feel like that just really, really sucks, right? First of all, you have COVID taking away all of your customers and your ability to run a business. And then, as states begin to open up slowly but surely, you have a bunch of rioters and looters just messing up your store. For me, that's so sad. And based on the research that I've done, it seems like poverty is one of the worst things affecting Black communities. And the thing is, like, you don't help poverty by getting rid of the business infrastructure that supports the local economy. This is my opinion. I mean, well, I don't know how much of this is my opinion, but it seems like poverty is really bad. So for me, the solution would be support the local economy, help those business owners rise up or be able to rebuild. And so that's what I'll be doing. And I've kind of refrained from posting on social media, because the thing is, I don't want to just hop onto a bandwagon without doing research. I don't want my motive to be the fear of social shame, because there's a lot of social shame right now on Instagram. Like, if you're not posting, if you're staying silent, that means you are part of the oppressor. And look, whether or not that's true, it opens up an interesting conversation about, let's say you shame the shit out of people who are silent. You're able to convince them that they're a piece of shit for not posting about George Floyd, about posting. Let's say you get them to start posting it, but you get them to post it purely out of place of shame, out of place of fear that other people are going to bully them, or other people are going to say, hey, you're an oppressor. I just watched this really interesting video by Abba and Preach. They have a YouTube video, and he was saying, like, if people don't care, they're not going to care. And if you get them to care by shaming them, the minute shit hits the fan, when things really get tough, when we really need their support, they're gonna run, because the only reason why they're hopping onto support or to care is because of shame, because of the fear of social chastisement. And for me, there's just so much information out there, and I just don't want to post anything that is not well researched. But instead, I want to do something that is actionable, that directly contributes to the restoration of these communities, directly contributes to the restoration of these cities. Because I'm not saying posting on social media is bad, not at all. Awareness is important, but there's two categories of how things move forward in life and business and success and blah, 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 whatever. There are direct measures and there's indirect measures. Indirect measures support direct measures, right? So, for example, if there's a giant rock in your driveway, a direct measure would be to go outside and push the rock out of the way. That is a direct measure. An indirect measure that supports that direct measure is you buying good shoes so that you could have grip. Maybe buying a back brace. Maybe calling up a bunch of friends to help you move the boulder. Maybe renting a heavy piece of equipment or something. Those are all indirect measures, but those things in and of themselves do not directly contribute to the moving of that boulder. Buying shoes doesn't move the boulder. Calling your friends doesn't move the boulder. Buying a back brace doesn't move the boulder. The only thing that's going to move the boulder is if you get out there and you push. And again, indirect measures are good. You should have them, because if you have friends, good shoes, a back brace, heavy machinery, moving that boulder will be a lot easier. But I think it's important to distinguish, what are we doing? Every time you post something, every time you do something, ask yourself, is this a indirect measure or is this a direct measure? And for me, I feel like the best way to help, in spite of, I think one of the best ways to help is using a direct measure. Because as far as the indirect measure, and I feel like social media is an indirect measure, it supports direct measures, is that there's a lot of opinions. It's flooded with politics. It's flooded with bias and everything like that. For me, I just want to be on the ground, hands and feet, helping out the community. And for me, that's donating the money. I wish I was able to be there in person to kind of help rebuild, because I like to use my hands, like literally use my hands to help rebuild these businesses and things like that. So I guess my kind of charge to you guys is, if you're only posting on social media, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but realize that it's an indirect measure that serves to support direct measures. So my encouragement is to do more direct measures. And I guess you could argue too that just giving money is an indirect measure. And so, yeah, maybe there's that. Maybe there's something more direct that I could be doing. So where are we at? I think caring is about doing something about it. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And again, I'm no expert. I don't live these experiences that people like George Floyd have lived. police brutality and all of this crazy, all this crazy stuff, but I want to be a part of the solution. And for me personally, the way that I'm gonna kind of truck forward in this is focusing on direct measures. And I don't want to shame people, because I think shame is the natural byproduct of being confronted with good. Perhaps. I don't know. I suppose that's debatable. You'll naturally feel shame when you know in your heart, when you know in yourself that you are not living up to the expectations that you have probably set for yourself, because nobody wants to be racist except for a very small group of people. Like, and when I say wants to be racist, like overtly, like I hate black people, I hate Asians, I hate Hispanics, blah blah blah. Shoot, I just lost my train of thought. I tend to do that. Maybe I need to drink more water. But shame. Yeah, I was talking about shame. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, shame, like if you're able to get somebody, oh yeah, shame is a byproduct. Shame is a byproduct of being confronted with a reality that is not consistent with where you want to be. So just for example, we might feel shame if, for example, we are overweight and we see a fit person on the magazine. It's not necessarily that fit person's fault that we feel shame about about being overweight. It's that maybe we know that we're not supposed to be overweight. Same thing is, maybe we know that we're supposed to be doing something about all of the protests and all of this discrimination that's happening, but in light of people taking action, we feel shame. I think indirect shame. I'm not saying we should try to have indirect shame. I'm just saying I'm not sure that. I guess this is a very long way of saying I'm not sure that directly shaming people for not supporting is the way to go, because it can cause people to take action, but that action is coming from a place of shame and a place of guilt and a place of fear, which in my opinion is not sustainable in the long term. It'll just eat you alive as you go, and there's this concept that I've been thinking of is there's guilt versus gratitude. Like I said, I grew up very, very blessed, very blessed. I have two parents that love me. They're married. They've been married. I've never had to worry about food being put on the table. I went to a private Christian college. I could go on and on. And so for me, if I am able to be grateful first, like really grateful, like not taking any of it for granted, I think there is a tinge of shame as a byproduct, not as a start, but as a byproduct that comes from me realizing, shoot, I'm super blessed, but there are other people out there who are not nearly as blessed as I am, who are privileged, if you prefer that word. And instead of shame and guilt, I can feel responsibility, and not necessarily responsibility to save these people or, to be the savior of all these marginalized people. It's more so, a responsibility to use everything that I have for the good of others, to be able to take the blessings that I have in life and not squander it and not waste it and use it for good. Like, for example, like with my company, my marketing company, the reason why I'm able to give $500, like it's not a huge company. I'm not super rich or anything like that. But the reason why I'm able to pursue my dreams like that is because I'm not worried again about food on my table. I'm not worried about my parents fighting downstairs and them getting a divorce. I'm not worried about getting pulled over and possibly killed. I am psychologically free to focus on my bigger goals and dreams. And I feel a responsibility to take that and use it again for the good of others. And that's why it's one of my favorite verses, because it's so simple. Everything you have is for the good of others. And like, we could take a deep dive into theology and everything like that. But you know, at the end of the day, you can hoard all of your power, you can hoard all of your resources. But like, I don't know. I just feel like, one, it's just not as good, you know? But yeah, it's crazy. So for me, I feel a responsibility to just go out and do something directly for these people. And I'm just trying to brainstorm now how I can use my company more so for people who have been disenfranchised in life. I think as Americans, we focus so much on celebration, triumphalism, consumerism, that anything that possibly kills the vibe, we don't like that. We don't like that. Oh, we just want positivity. And don't get me wrong, I love positivity. If you spend any time around me in person, I like to be positive. Sometimes I can be nihilistic, though, I will admit. Sometimes I can be nihilistic. But I would say, generally speaking, I like to be positive. But we have to remember that people can't be as positive as we are. So at the end of the day, I think it's best that we show that we care, that we live our life in a way where caring for other people is something that we do with our action, with our hands and our feet. It's something that we do directly for the good of others and not just posting on social media. I think caring is being able, I think the litmus test of whether or not you care is, again, that silent movie. If someone were to only watch your life with your actions and your behavior, what would they think you care about? And if that thing that they think you care about is in alignment with what you say you care about, I think you're in a good spot. Number 2 or number 3, I'm going to say number 2, even though it might be number 3. Everything you have is for the good of others. You are probably blessed in many ways in your life, and you will find a lot more fulfillment from using that for the good of others. And honestly, like, it just makes the world a better place. It makes the world a better place. And number 3, I don't think direct shame is a way to instill long-term change. As corny as it sounds, I think love is the way. And honestly, when you confront somebody with real, genuine love, they might feel shame about the way that they've been thinking. I felt shame from really good love about the way that I've been treating myself and others. But that shame was a byproduct of me being in the face of real, genuine love. It wasn't flipped. It wasn't shame first and love after. It's love first, shame as like, I was like, oh man, that sucks. Like ripping off a Band-Aid. And then more love. It's still working on that. Still working on everything that I said in this podcast. Using what I have using everything that I have for the good of others. Directly helping people out and all that good stuff. So if there's anything that you got out of our podcast, I hope it's those 3 things: is indirect versus direct measures of helping, caring with your actions and your behaviors and not just on social media, love first, operate from a place of love, and responsibility. So that's all I got for today. Crazy stuff happening. Stay safe. Catch you on the next one.